Hey there, Ryan Deiss, and I was able to generate over 8,000 leads at about a $5 cost per lead, which was about 30% of what we were normally spending through this really cool YouTube strategy. Essentially what we did is I created one piece of pillar content. It was one about 81-minute video. I had 5 supporting videos that all linked back to that one video. And through amplifying those other videos through discovery ads and things like that, we were able to spend literally just a couple $1,000s, generate many, many thousands of leads. I believe it was around 8,000 leads. Grew our YouTube subscriber account from around 3,000 to 20,000. And right now this is responsible for about a third of all of the leads that are coming in. It also, because of this strategy, shortened our sales cycle from about 355 days down to just under 250 days. So if you've got a complex product that takes too long to sell that you wish were selling a little bit faster, or if you're just looking for a new way to generate a lot of high quality leads for not a whole lot of cash, I would definitely check this one out.
If that resonates with you, listen along. Otherwise, honestly, don't. Check out our other episodes instead. You are listening to TLDR, the B2B SaaS growth podcast brought to you by Spear Growth. Every episode is like a case study of a tactic, which means if you're listening to this on a Friday, by Monday you can actually start implementing it. I'm your host, Ishan, and I run an ads and SEO agency for B2B SaaS companies like yourselves. Now, let's get into the episode. Hey Ryan, thank you so much for doing this. I was just telling Ryan that I didn't know Ryan from his days at digitalmarketer.com. Like that's what I know you're known for. I know all the titles you have, but I somehow just didn't know that. What I knew Ryan for was I found Ryan on YouTube through his content about Scalable, that's his new venture. And I immediately fell in love with the entire content strategy. And when I say I fell in love with it's an understatement. So Ryan, thank you so much for doing that. I'm looking forward to just understanding what you did, how did you do, like just like the entire strategy. Would love to just like dig into it. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to be here, happy to break it down. I am somebody who I have dabbled in YouTube for half a decade, and it wasn't until maybe 6 months ago that I finally figured out a method that worked for me. I've got a lot of friends who are very big YouTubers and who have built million-plus person accounts, and I just never wanted to have anything to do with their strategy because I wanted to have this thing called a life. And so, yeah, I finally found a system that worked, and so happy to break it down.
Love that. So, then can you just quickly break down just the entire process? If you had to break it down into parts, how do you think about it yourself?
So when I think about YouTube to me is the ultimate binge factory. So YouTube is one of the places where people who have no idea who you are can discover you. And there are very few discovery platforms out there online anymore, right? Where people then can kind of hang around. If you think about most social channels like TikTok, maybe somebody sees your video, but they're going to scroll and they're going to see somebody else, and then somebody else and somebody else. So maybe they see you, but it's a glance, it's not a stare. Facebook and Instagram, it's kind of the same thing. YouTube is one of the few places where if somebody discovers your video, you got a real shot at YouTube actually serving them another one of your videos. And if they like that, then they may subscribe and they may watch another one and another one and another one. And we found that if we can get prospects to do that, to consume one video after another, we can take somebody from literally having no idea who we are to booking a meeting and to giving us tens of thousands of dollars as a client in a matter of days. Whereas, our normal sales cycle might be 250 to 300 days, right? But if somebody discovers us on YouTube and if they consume all of this content, if they binge all of this content, then it accelerates it much faster. So we had seen this happen organically, like we had seen it in the data. We knew that the people, we were asking our leads, hey, how did you find out about us? And they're like, oh, I found you on YouTube and then I watched this video and this video and this video. Like we knew the people that did that bought really quickly. And so the essence of the strategy was really, how could we engineer that? It was happening accidentally. How could we engineer it? So that was kind of the core. And where it all began, I think that this is really important because the way that most people approach YouTube is they approach it like a YouTuber. They think they're Mr. Beast, okay? They think that they're like some freaking YouTuber out there, and they've got to publish some like new piece of content every week that's going to go viral. That's not how I approach YouTube at all, okay? I approach YouTube first and foremost from I've got one singular pillar piece of content. One singular pillar piece of content. And for me, that's where it all begins. And the question that I ask to determine what should this one piece of pillar content be is this. What is the one piece of content I wish everybody saw before being asked to make a purchasing decision? That's it. Like, and every business has this. I don't care if you're an enterprise SaaS. I don't care if you're a mattress store, okay? Every business has one piece of content. Now that one piece of content could, like me, be like an 81-minute video. And everybody said like, oh, an 81-minute video. That's too long for YouTube. It's too long if it's boring, if it's too long if it's too early in the relationship. But for me, that pillar piece of content, I don't want that to be the first video that anybody watches. I'm okay with it being the second or the third, but I don't want it to be the first video. So again, it's where the strategy starts, it's not where the relationship starts. This is romance, okay? We're not necessarily, proposing marriage on a first date, at least not in the States, traditionally. So we've got that one piece of pillar content, and that again, it starts from what is the one thing that I wish that everybody saw, and every business has this. All of them have that. And so I can kind of stop there if you want to ask and go any deeper, on that pillar content.
No, I love that. I'll just take a step back to the overall strategy. So a lot of folks that listen to this podcast are in the SaaS space.
Yep.
Now, in the B2B SaaS space, there's this entire debate around, hey, can demand be generated or not? Which basically means if someone is not currently in market looking for a solution like yours, can you bring them in market and sell to them? And there's two sides to it. One side basically of folks is saying that, hey, that just is not possible. Just build trust, build awareness, and then wait for them to come in market. And the second category of folks, which is very few, and I'm part of those, where they say that, hey, you know what? You can change people's priorities and bring people in market. Is this a strategy based on the reason why I was very interested in this is because this could be one of the best strategies I've seen to bring folks who aren't really in market. Did I understand that correctly? Have you seen that? Is that what you're seeing as well?
Yeah, I believe there's 4 ways to accelerate the sales cycle, because that's really what we're talking about, right? How do you take somebody who's not currently ready? So you're talking about enterprise SaaS. Let's simplify it even further. Let's say I sell winter coats, okay? Now, I live in Austin, Texas. It's hot. I don't know where you live. Maybe it's hot there too. For the vast majority of the year, I have no interest whatsoever in buying a winter coat. And so there's almost nothing that you could do to cause me to want to buy a winter coat, right? There's almost nothing that you could really do to cause me to do this. Now, what are some things that you could do? There's 4 of them. Number 1, high pressure sales tactics. Okay, this does work. You get somebody on the phone and you use manipulative tactics to get them to buy now. This happens a lot with you see this in a lot of, I'm not recommending this, by the way. I'm just saying that it's something that people do. Okay. And so again, not recommending it, because what you have on the other side of that is buyer's remorse. You have bad reviews, you have brand degradation. But that is one way to say that you can't possibly pull somebody forward. Absolutely. If you're willing to deploy high pressure sales tactics, you definitely can to some people. The second way that you can do it is through discounting. Hey, buy this right now. If you buy it right now, you get a discount. And there are some people within that group who will buy before they're technically ready so that they can save a little bit of money. The problem with that is on the other side is you have margin reduction and brand degradation. Right? Whereas had you just waited until they were ready, you would have had the increased margins and have established more of a premium brand. That's what a lot of people will do. Here's the other way that you can do this. I call it the magic question. If you will simply ask, under what circumstances will the right prospect always buy? Because in any market, There's 3 to 6% of your audience that is ready to buy right now. You just don't know who they are. And so if you'll just send out a little calling card, to the audience saying, hey, are you ready now? So again, going back to the winter coat example. So it's summer in Austin, Texas. It's 153 billion degrees outside. I don't want to buy a winter coat, but maybe I get an email saying, are you planning a trip to South America? Planning a trip to Australia. Now, how many people on their list are planning to do that? Probably very few, but the ones that are, guess what? They need a winter coat because it's winter in the Southern Hemisphere. What about, planning a last minute ski trip? Maybe it's, April, they think they can go and do. What about, would you like, want to buy your winter coat off season so that you can get the best, so that you can get the best colors, at the sizes that sell out the fastest, right? Under what circumstances will the right prospect always buy? That's the magic question. That's one way to bring people forward, is just to kind of throw that out. The last way to do it is romance and accelerated romance, right? And what we are talking about here with the pillar content is just that. It's romance. This entire strategy is romance. It's spending more time with people. If you've ever gone out, have you ever gone on a guy's trip with your friends, and then maybe your friend invited somebody that you didn't know to come along, but by the end of the weekend, you were kind of best friends with them too? It's because you spent an entire weekend together. You're hanging out, you're having shared experiences, you're boys now, right? Simply proximity and time and space increases intimacy. And this is something that Google did studies on. Their first moment of truth, zero moment of truth study, right? It's 7-11-4. It's 7 hours of content over 11 touch points and 4 different locations, right? That's what it takes to bring somebody along. So if we can accelerate the 7-11-4, then yes, you can move somebody along. And that is what this strategy allows you to do.
Love that. Going back to the pillar content then. So I might have completely misunderstood, because I thought there were 5 pillars. You're saying there's...
Well, okay. So there's one pillar with 5 sub-pillars.
Great. So would love to understand that then. So what's the pillar in your case? What are sub-pillars? Just would love to understand what's happening then. Well,
yeah, so if you go to my channel, Ryan Deiss Official, there's the main video that's on there is my 81 minutes video where I walk through our entire operating system framework. If somebody watches that video from beginning to end, in general, they're sold. They get it, right? They understand it. But now to implement the operating system requires that you piece together 6 different tools. So all of those tools now get broken out into their own independent video that can stand alone. And like I said, this is the same case with everything. Any pillar content can typically be broken down into different categories that make this work. So whether it's an overarching framework with kind of sub-frameworks, or it's a bunch of steps with sub-steps, if you've got the big overarching concept and then you break it into the sub-concepts, so those sub-subjects, each one of those becomes a video in and of itself. Now you teach those videos independently. Those are your 10, 15, 20-minute, YouTube style videos. And you say, hey, if you like this is great, but it's just one piece of an overarching process. If you want to see the whole thing, go watch my main video. If you want to see the next one in the series, go check that as well. And so they can continue to consume more in the series, but eventually they're going to be brought back to the pillar content. And YouTube does a really great job of sending them to the different videos within that series, and all the other videos within that series are all sending them back to the pillar content.
I actually love that. And for folks who haven't just binged through all of your content like I did, how do you, so let's say if I was hearing for this for the first time, I say, okay, there's one major, large 81-minute video, and then there are sub videos, then do I just have 7 videos total? How do you create the next?
Yeah, I mean, at a minimum, you're going to need, 5 to 7, right, to make the strategy work, to get some binging. And then my goal is still to produce a video a week. And so what I say is I do a video a week, every week, except when I don't. Right? And that's really important because my strategy does not require that I produce a video absolutely positively every single week, because I don't need to necessarily, feed the algorithmic beast. And that's because I'm also willing to amplify, and this is really important, I'm willing to amplify through in-feed discovery ads those secondary videos to make sure that they show up in the right people's feeds. So now if they get enough traction on their own, I don't put any spend behind them. But if it's a good video and for whatever reason it's just not getting the traction, I'll put a little spend behind them. So as long as there's spend going behind them, if I don't put out a video one week, it's not that big a deal. People are still finding it. Things are coming out. But yeah, if the strategy is working, I'm happy to produce more videos that are on the topic. And then each video is going to link back to another sub-pillar content or back to the main pillar content video. And so you're just continuing to feed the beast. People who understand kind of old school blogging and content marketing will recognize this strategy. Like this is just your classic blog pillar content strategy applied to YouTube. There's nothing new under the sun.
The big unlock for me, and maybe this is going to be important for a lot of folks, and I see this with a lot of our clients, they all say that, hey, I need to create the next great piece of content, and that has to do everything. It has to be very attractive. It also has to somehow nurture people, and it has to then so it has to be this ultimate piece of webinar or ebook or whatever, and then I have to do it again and again repeatedly. And what I've seen with your content, which was the biggest unlock for me, that hey, maybe the most useful and nurturing content is not the most like the pillar in what you're calling pillars, I call them offers. So those or the sub pillars may not on their own be extremely just attractive, but the way you package them and the way you you sort of took one video, connected it to a lot of different sub pillars, and that video was attractive. And I think that was a very big unlock for me, because I was like, oh, I just need to create world-class content 7 times, like one pillar, 6 sub pillars, and I'm done. Now I can just keep taking that, pushing it into a video, and then creating it. That was my moment of love with your content strategy per se. But
yeah, and a lot of the ideas thank you. And a lot of the ideas for the other videos have come from communicating with people in the comments. People asking questions, saying, hey, can you make a video on this? Sure, right? And it was very easy then to know that, okay, well, this video that I'm making should link back to this other video where people were asking about it in the comments. It becomes very organic, and you're serving your audience in that way. And so it's a fairly simple strategy. And where the bulk of the work is done is in 2 phases. Number 1, all of these videos are put in the same playlist. So if you know anything about YouTube, you can create a playlist. I don't create 15 billion different playlists. I've got one playlist that all these things are going in, because I want YouTube to know that these all fit together. So if somebody's in one, send them to the next one. So that's kind of the first thing. The second thing is in the description. If I have some kind of a relevant resource or lead magnet, that's what I'm going to link to first, because that's the most relevant. I mean, that's what's going to benefit and be most valuable to the viewer. And so I want to make sure that I serve the viewer. So in the video where I'm talking about, how we build CEO dashboards and metrics things, I give away our template. I say the template is down there. That's the first link, right? But then I say, now, if you want to see how this fits into our overarching operating system, go see my other video about that. And if you want to help building all this stuff out, there's another one. Now, typically, a general rule of marketing is you just want to have one call to action. In this case, though, I'm okay to violate that rule because I don't mind them bouncing around to different places. Because again, 7-11-4, I'm okay with them going to this other YouTube video. I'm okay with them going to my landing page over here. I'm okay with them going to my website over here. I'm okay with them moving around to different places, because that movement is what creates the intimacy. As long as they're staying kind of within the world, and especially if they go to the website, now we're dropping retargeting pixels so we can follow up there. If they opt in for a lead magnet, now they're on our email list. We're sending a welcome and indoctrination series, which guess what? is encouraging them to go back and watch the pillar content video. I mean, so everything is feeding back into everything else. And that's kind of this evergreen relationship building machine that just makes the whole process work. And then every time I create a new video, it just becomes another entry point into that machine.
I absolutely love that. I need one clarification, then I'll try and summarize all of it so I can know what we haven't discussed yet, right? So you called a lot of the words you've used is a pillar content, which is the 81-minute video. Then there are sub pillars, and then you also called something lead magnets. I thought the lead magnets were the sub pillars.
The lead magnets are the specific downloadable resources that somebody it's gated content. So when I think about a lead magnet, it's gated. It's behind a form of some sort. Whereas the kind of the sub pillars and the pillar content's typically ungated. It's there to be watched and binged.
In your specific case, the sub pillars are basically need the lead magnet, or they talk about the lead magnet. Is that like how you've structured it?
They're typically, so in my specific case, yes. Yeah. So what I did is, because what we're doing is we're helping our clients build an operating system in and around their business, we would define an operating system as the combination of these 6 different tools and systems, right? That we are very specific in how we define an operating system. And because we don't sell the tools themselves, we sell the implementation of the tool. I'm happy just to give people the tool. So I'm like, here's the tool that we use. You can do it, download it and use it yourself. If you want to help implementing it, have at it. So there are 6 different tools, but there's really only 5 of them that are actually downloadable. One of the tools is something that you just kind of have to create on your own. So there's nothing for me to necessarily give anybody. So that's why there's 5 of them. And so yeah, I had 5 tools. And so I created a video that was essentially describing each tool. That was kind of how it worked out. I don't know that you necessarily have to have a lead magnet associated with every video. That's not a requirement. I have plenty of videos now that don't have a lead magnet. But if you can, I think it's great, because now that video can also not only drive people into the binge factory that is your other YouTube videos, it can also drive leads over into your email list, which is the most valuable channel of all. But to me, it's just let the content, like what is the promise of the video? What am I promising to deliver to this viewer? If there needs to be some type of resource to deliver on that promise, then I'm going to do it. If there doesn't, then I'm not going to come up with something just so I got an excuse to ask somebody for their name and email address.
Love that. I'll just summarize it. Let me know what part of the process we've not discussed yet, right? So there's one pillar content, and I love the way you said it, that, hey, what's the ideal, I don't remember the specific words, but you mentioned something like, hey, what's the ideal situation a person needs to be before they buy from you, and this consuming this content creates that situation, right? That's the pillar content, right, Ryan?
Exactly, yeah. What's one piece of content that I wish that everybody saw right before being asked to make a purchasing decision? More times than not in software, it's going to be some kind of a demo. It's going to be some type of a, where they're getting to really visualize and see your product in action and how it works for them. So not just a demo where you're just walking them through how it works, but something where they're really able to see, oh my gosh, it does that? Like, yeah. Whoa. If you've got a sales team, then I would go and talk to them and say, at what point during the sales conversation can you tell, like you see people's eyes light up, when you've really got them? Like that's the aha moment. All too often the aha moment is hidden behind something. If we can pull that aha moment into the pillar content, then more people are going to be exposed to it, more likely to come through.
Love that. From that pillar content, you take pieces of it or take things that are very closely related to it and make sub pillars. Ideally, you mentioned there should be 4 to 6 sub pillars, right, Ryan?
To get started, yep, 4 to 6 is going to be enough to get the binge factory and the flywheel going. That's what we want. If you've only got 1 or 2, it's just not enough. Yeah, so we need 4 to 6 to really kind of launch the strategy and launch the channel.
Love that. And then all of these, like the the primary pillar content. The pillar content goes like you just pin it to your YouTube channel. The sub pillars and the primary pillar go in the same playlist so that it starts getting recommended. In the descriptions, if you have specific lead magnets that you can link to so that you can then run email campaigns and just like bounce people around all the different pillars you have, do that. If you see people are asking for to look at the same information in a different context, you create content and like give people what they need, and that's how you sort of figure out how to create the next piece of content. And don't you don't really hesitate to amplify it, like just run some ads on it if needed, and don't worry too much about becoming Mr. Beast, essentially.
Yep. What we have seen is that when you put ads towards a video, it basically kills the organic. I don't know why YouTube does this. You would think that if you show a willingness to kind of pay to play, that they might kind of help you out a little bit, but they don't. The second you put some ads behind it, you kind of start to see your organic die off. So what we do is we're going to put a video out there. We're going to give it a couple of weeks to see if it goes, and if it just never takes off, then, but we know that it is sales enabling. We know that it's good content. Then we'll put some advertising behind it. This is really important. I'll give you some data on this because this is meaningful. You want to make sure before you amplify any content, though, that you have at least a 50% watch rate at the 30-second mark, and ideally an average percent viewed higher than 15%. So again, 50% watch rate at the 30-second mark, so more than half the people are watching at least 30 seconds, and an average percent viewed greater than 15%. That means you got a pretty good video. There is no point whatsoever in amplifying a sucky video, is what I'm saying. So don't put spend behind a video that nobody wants to watch. So give it a couple of weeks. If it's a good video that people seem to like, but it still just for whatever reason isn't getting that viral amplification, you can put some juice behind it through in-feed discovery ads. And all that means is it just makes sure that ad is going to be visible on the start page, on the next up page, and all those other ones. It's not the in-stream ad. It just is a discovery ad. Really cheap, like insanely inexpensive. We're talking like 7 cents a click kind of cheapness.
Oh, I'm having a field day with this one. So I try to summarize strategy based on what we discussed till now. Is there something we missed? Because then we can get into the specifics of actually creating all of this.
No, that is the strategy. It's not the beautiful thing about it is it's not that dang complicated. It's just kind of rinse and repeat. Like keep doing it. And I think the most important part of the strategy is knowing what that pillar content is. In all of these things, it only works if what you have is worthy of amplification. So you need to make sure you have videos that are worthy of amplification. You need to make sure that those videos are sending people to pillar content that actually is worthy of people watching. It needs to actually be sales enabling. So this is probably not the first strategy that you should do if you're an early stage startup and you still haven't had product market fit and you don't know why people are buying your stuff. Yeah. I think that's an important just kind of disclaimer that I would have on this. At Scalable Company, we had been selling this offer for probably a year and a half. I had a lot of good, valuable data from our sales team. I had run a number of different webinars. I had done a number of different keynote presentations in a number of different audiences. So I had personally experienced what were those things that I said that caused people's eyes to light up. And so I just made sure that I had that written out in the perfect script. But just so you know, there's nothing overly fancy about that video. It's literally just me reading a Google Doc. That's all that it is. It's just, and we went back after the fact and had some more professional editing done to it. But it really is about the content. It's not about kind of how amazing it is. But if you know you have a webinar that's pretty effective, that can very often be your pillar content, just maybe YouTubeified a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're underselling how good you are at communication, because it might be you reading a Google Doc, but it's you reading a Google Doc. And that I think made a big difference, because in not as flattery, but if it was someone else that wasn't, because you have had a lot of practice speaking and creating content, so that I think for any or most other people, it would require a lot more than, hey, just read a Google Doc. It might not be as engaging as you make it.
I think you're right, and I have no problem admitting that. I've been doing this for 20 plus years, so I have a lot of experience doing this stuff, and I have a lot of proof that what we talk about works. I mean, I think that's important. At the end of the day, if you don't have good proof and you don't have a great product, none of this is going to work. I mean, hopefully that's table stakes and everybody knows that. But yeah, this strategy does require, and any YouTube strategy is going to require that you have a worthy spokesperson. Okay, I think that's really, really, really important. I will say, however, we're doing a lot of testing right now, and this is with ads. So we're not with like long form just yet, but with short form 1 and 2 minute ads, using tools like HeyGen, where AI people, so not real life human beings, but AI people, we're giving them these scripts, they are reading them, and those ads of fake AI people are outperforming ads of me. Just for what it's worth. So if you have good content, definitely good content plus a worthy, skilled messenger is gonna win every day. But you could be the best, most worthy, skilled messenger, and if the content's crap, it's not gonna work. Give me a chucklehead messenger and amazing content, any day. You can get better. Just give some practice. You'll figure it out eventually.
Love that. Okay, so let's break down the numbers. I'm so excited about this part. Just like overall strategy, what kind of numbers are you seeing? And just for anyone listening, remember, this is a demand gen. This is not demand capture. You're not running ads to people who are already in market, ready to buy. This is a very expensive product. It's when I say expensive, it's not like a $30 a month product. It is similar to what an enterprise SaaS would cost. And these are folks that are not in market looking for something like this. They might not even have realized that, hey, this is something I might even need. So yeah, like Ryan, all yours, numbers.
Yeah, so what I can give you, I don't have where all the numbers are today, because now it's just a part of the system. And one of the things you commented, you didn't really know me as a marketer. That's kind of how we got started. And truth be told, man, it's because I'm not anymore. Like I play a marketer on TV sometimes, a digital marketer, but I'm running companies. That's what I'm doing. And so my team doesn't even let me have access to our Meta and Google ad accounts anymore. I'm not joking, because sometimes I'll go in there and try to mess with stuff. So what I have are the numbers that from the first 60 days that we were launching and doing this. What I can tell you is these numbers have only gotten better, because this is a strategy that gets better with time, because the organic starts to take over. Yeah. It starts to get better and better. So in the first 60 days, we generated over 8,000 leads. So 8,000 leads, qualified leads, at a $5.23 cost per lead. Just to put that into perspective, we're normally from Google and Meta more in the range of $15 to $20-ish cost per lead. So this was about a third the cost per lead. This was the biggie, an 886% return on ad spend. Okay, we could not spend enough at first. Like we were like, how can we possibly spend more? But we were trying to get it, scaled up. The cool thing was this strategy took what was essentially my dead YouTube channel. Because I think I launched my YouTube channel, originally back in 1994 or something, who knows, like forever ago, right? I'm old, internet years. It took it from like around 3,000 subscribers to over 20,000 subscribers in 60 days, right? And it's continuing to grow. That's where I'm saying like this strategy just gets better and better. And when I looked like the next month, the total spend was up to just over $9,000 a month. That generated 140,000 views at a 7 cent cost per view, 6.5 cents cost per view. This was the biggie. 10,724 earned views. Earned views. What that means is these are people who watched a video because of a discovery ad, right? So they were prompted because we paid for it to watch one video, but then they went and watched another one as well. That second watch is the earned view. So we got 10,000 people, and this was kind of in the second month. That generated 4,507 leads. This was just from the, so what I showed you before was the aggregate of organic, and this was just from the discovery ads, 4,507 at a cost per lead of $2.06. So
Wow.
pretty solid.
I would say so. So,
Yeah, pretty good.
oh,
So of all of our strategies that we deployed last year, this was the biggest breakthrough by far. And the nice thing is it continues to scale, and as you add more videos to it, the organic continues to take over. And going back to what you were saying before, a lot of people who weren't in market, this can accelerate them through. It can romance them faster than they would have before. That's the other piece. Our average time to order, like our average sales cycle was like 355 days, right? Which was long.
Yeah.
This got it under 250 days. So more than 100-day reduction over about a 90-day process. That's pretty significant, okay? Without a reduction in lead quality and without much increase in spend. That's because we're, far superior nurturing. That's that binge factory taking place. And for us, we really don't want people to buy. We don't want our average to go down too much. We're not trying to accelerate that. We want people to kind of know who we are and know what they're buying before they sign up.
Love that. In your particular case, what did the team look like when you were implementing this? And feel free to also just tag out that, hey, you might not really need this, but I had it. So just, that'll help.
The team that implemented it?
Yes, like there was you as a spokesperson, someone maybe made some.
Yeah, we have an outsourced. So I was able to leverage somebody who handled all the YouTube editing, like the video editing and things. So I get in this studio that you're basically here right now. I click play, I talk. I send a very rough cut to the editor. The editor would go back and forth with me on kind of, here are my suggestions for titles and things, and like, sure, that's good. There was also a thumbnail designer. So the thumbnail designer would send over some ideas. That was a contractor. So the editor and thumbnail designer were contractor. And then I have an in-house media buyer that was handling the media buying, and my head of marketing was driving it as well. But I mean, you're basically talking about 2 in-house people and two contractors to make this thing go.
Love that. And who wrote the script out?
Oh, I basically did the scripting. That I will tell you, that is the hardest part of this whole thing is the creation of the script. That being said, what I have now started to do is leverage Claude. I found Claude to be better than ChatGPT, and I'm taking whether it's like my book or I'm taking certain speaking engagements and things like that, and I'm sending it over to Claude. And I'm saying, hey, can you help me, craft based on this kind of aggregate knowledge, help me craft a 20-minute YouTube video script. And what's coming out is pretty good, right? So if you have a lot of derivative content to train Claude on, then I found that it can be pretty effective at delivering a pretty decent draft if you have a good idea. That's important. You have to prompt it with a good idea. It will not come out with good ideas. If you prompt it with if you train it with good solid content in the context window, and if you prompt it with a good idea, it'll fill in the gaps. And then you can come over and spice it up a little bit. And so that's what I've started testing literally just this last week, playing around with that.
Awesome. I'll ask a couple of follow-up questions just to understand where people might get stuck. And when I say people, I'm thinking of myself implementing this because I am going to try to do this. So one is like, how do you even come up with pillar content? I think the answer you gave was ask sales folks, when do people's eyes light up, and then every single scenario you can think of, bring it all together. What if there are different scenarios? Some folks prefer something, some prefer, like the different. Like I've done a lot of sales for my agency. Now I know that, hey, for some folks, this one thing that we talk about is much more impressive, and then for some other people, the same thing would just not even would just be obvious. So how do you do you just take everything and put it in one video that, hey, whoever likes whatever, just put everything in?
Well, this goes to kind of your overarching business strategy, right? I mean, one of the things that I'm a big believer in is that companies, businesses should be defined by the people they serve, not the products they sell. Yeah. And so anytime I hear that it's like, oh, we've got this one product and it appeals to different groups in different ways, what that tells me is, well, it sounds to me like you got a bunch of different companies, is the first thing that I hear. So I've never run into that problem, because as far as I'm concerned, if I need to talk to a bunch of different people in a bunch of different ways, I either have a bunch of different companies or I need to pick. And so my encouragement to somebody who's asking that is, get crystal clear day one on what is your ideal client profile. Get crystal clear in your ICP, dial that in, talk to just that one, and then maybe once you get that dialed in, you will be able to, maybe wind up with multiple channels, and each channel can talk to a different audience, is perhaps where you go with that. I will also say this: very often we, as marketers in particular, and definitely as founders and entrepreneurs, we think that if we talk to just the ideal client, that we're going to ignore everybody else. And in fact, the opposite is true. It's when we attempt to talk to a bunch of people that we talk to nobody. What I found is so for us at the Scalable Company, our ideal client is an owner-operator, entrepreneur, typically business and professional services, generating between $2 million and $20 million in revenue, more than 10 employees, but less than 100, right? That's kind of our sweet spot. Now, can we help somebody who's doing $500,000 to $1 million? Yep, we can, and we do all the time. Can we help 30, 40, 50, $100 million companies? Absolutely. But we talk to the people who are our bullseye. And what I've found is if you talk to the people that are the bullseye, you get the aspirational folks who aren't quite there. And that's awesome. They aspire to be there, and so they listen. You also get your humble high performers. So the people who know that they're a little bit past you, but they also know they have something to learn, they're intrigued as well. And you want them too. So I would just say, talk to your ICP. And that is a singular. Screw avatars. I hate when businesses are like, we've got all these avatars. No, you don't, okay? Don't. You've got one, okay? You got one. When you're doing tens of millions in revenue, we can talk about multiple. That's a different show.
I love that answer. You couldn't have given a better answer for this one. Love that. So you have that. Let's say now we have, could some of the sub-pillars not be a video? I know we're talking about YouTube, but the same strategy could potentially be applied to other things. So could the lead magnet be the content?
Yeah, I think for the strategy to work, it should be ungated, because we want to reduce friction. Yep. Right? Now, I don't think that it necessarily has to be on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Your pillar content could be, again, this strategy was deployed effectively kind of back in the day, and we called it blogging. HubSpot. HubSpot is a multi-billion-dollar public company because of this strategy deployed with text on a screen. Okay? And what did all their articles link back to? Lead magnets, right? I mean, so like I said, nothing new under the sun. Not claiming to have invented it. I think what YouTube gives you that those don't is the leverage of the algorithm and the leverage of the viral coefficient that comes from just the fact that it's kind of feeding into itself, right? That one video is prompting and serving up another one. And it's so freaking good at keeping them there. Like, it's so good. There's no place that you could put people on your website that's going to be as good at keeping people there as YouTube is. They're just the best in the world. People talk about Netflix winning the streaming war. Screw it. YouTube beat everybody already by a mile, right? So I think it's the best. But I have seen text work Podcasts, to a certain degree, what we're doing right now, can absolutely be a binge factory. What podcasts lack, though, is discoverability, right? So for the people who happen to find this and they go and listen to a bunch of other ones, they're all the way in, right?
Yeah.
But podcast doesn't have the discoverability factor that LinkedIn does. So I like that LinkedIn has both discoverability and bingeability. Most of them are lacking one of those two.
Interesting. And the last question, and then we'll wrap up, is so let's talk about the script part. So there's one video that I've watched so many times. Like I've watched it across flights. This is one video which is, I wasn't even very impressed with the title. It says like 9 reasons why businesses fail, right? The title didn't seem that impressive, but when I watched the video, the way you've sort of, the script is just smooth. I don't know a better word for it, but you've incorporated maybe 4 or 5 of your lead magnets into the same video. Every point talks about different things. How do you even go about writing that? Because do you just like start from the top and go down, or like do you have like, hey, these are my lead magnets, I need to sort of incorporate, and like, so how do you think about writing that script if you haven't done it a lot of times?
It's a great question. Everything for me begins with one, assume knowledge on the part of the viewer. So what knowledge am I going to assume that they have? And that's really, really, really important because I never want to speak down to my viewer. Have you ever heard people talk about how, oh, you should make sure that you're always speaking at like a 3rd grade or a 4th grade level? Yeah. I don't, maybe, right? Maybe. But like, what if I'm talking to a more sophisticated audience? People are like, oh, you should still do it to make it easier. I don't know. I don't know. I don't need people, like, maybe, like, I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, so just be intentional about it. Like, what assumed knowledge do they have? Like, so you do not see me talking about startup things. You don't see me having, anything about here's how to come up with a business idea. Everything starts from the fact that you've got a business doing a couple $1,000,000 a year. Now what? Okay. That is the basic assumption of every video that I do. Right? And so it's really important. You've got to start with the assumed knowledge. Now, next thing is, what is the problem? Okay? They've got this very specific problem. Yeah. So I've got the assumed knowledge. I know who I'm talking to. I know the problem that I'm seeking to solve. Now, what's the outcome? And then the video, as simple as it sounds, is just how do I take them from this problem to this, to this outcome in the shortest path possible, as if I'm just talking to a friend. And for me, these are not scripted. Okay, so for me, I've just got some bullet points of things that I want to talk about, and I will tell you, good video is good editing. I am blessed and benefited by really talented editors who cut out a lot of the uhs and ums and the, oh, dang it, I didn't mean to say that, cut that out, right? And now, again, I'm pretty good at this stuff. I've got a lot of experience. That didn't used to be the case. I used to really, really suck, and then I kept doing it. But the mistake that I think a lot of people make with YouTube videos is they say, okay, what promotional piece do I want to bring into this? And I mentioned this because you say, do you start from the lead magnets and just say, I want to, no, never. I always start from what is the problem to be solved here, right? What's kind of that problem to be solved here? Even when we were looking at it from like, okay, I know that I want to do 5 pillars and I know I loosely want them to connect up to the basic tools. I still say, yeah, but what problems do those tools solve? Yeah. Like if somebody wants this tool, what's the problem that they would have? And how can I take them from that less desirable before state to that more desirable after state? Good YouTube script writing is actually good marketing copywriting. If you can get good at writing marketing copy, you'll actually get good at creating YouTube videos because it's still just persuasion. Just maybe not a clear call to action at the end.
Yeah. Love that. I think that's all we have time for. I still have a lot of different questions. Before we wrap up, where should people find you?
I mean, at this point, I think they should, if nothing else, just go to my YouTube channel just to see what the heck is going on, even if you don't give a crap about the content. Just go check that out.
Love that. And if you had to give one elevator pitch about maybe scalable company, what would that be?
Yeah, so at the scalable company, if you're doing, if you're kind of stuck in that no man's land, that swamp of scale between the, 2 million and 20 million, I like to say that for most of my businesses, I personally made more money at 2 million in revenue than I did at 6 million in revenue, right? And it didn't get good again until about 10 million in revenue. And this is especially true if you're bootstrapped. If you're funded, you get to break some of those rules. But if you're a bootstrapped entrepreneurial company, getting from 0 to 1 million and up to 2 million, I think just about anybody can do that. But making the leap from 2 million to 10 million to 20 million, it's a fundamentally different playbook, requires a fundamentally different operating system, a fundamentally different everything. And nobody told me that. Nobody told me that the first time around. And so at the Scalable Company, we just tell people all the stuff that I wish I would have known. And we do this through books. We do this through the free videos. And then we also have services where we take entrepreneurs by the hand and help them do that. So basically, you can give us like $20 for a book, or you can give us like $15,000, $20,000 to do it with you, and there's almost nothing in between. So if you don't have 15 or 20 grand, just enjoy the books and the videos.
Love that. Thank you so much, Ryan. This was really good. Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the TLDR podcast. In case you're wondering, Spear Growth is a marketing agency. We do ads and SEO for B2B SaaS companies like yourselves. You can check us out at speargrowth.com. That is SPEARGROWTH.com. Every episode, just like this one, starts with a quick summary of what we're going to discuss. Pick the next episode to watch based on what you can implement right now. And once you start seeing results, we'd really appreciate it if you dropped us a note at podcast@speargrowth.com.